I wish I had something nice to say about Fuse. I really do. But I don't. Because I honestly feel like playing the entire game is counterproductive to the point of playing a game. And I actually have to walk you through a round of Fuse in order to have you understand this. So, this is the single player version. You can play this with multiple people, but frankly I'm not sure why you would. We start with 4 bombs in front of us. There's 5 bombs in the center row, and the bombs that are left in the deck over here are determined by the difficulty you want to play. It's basically just like, you put 2 more bombs in the deck, go up 2 difficulties, or add a few other cards into the deck, but we'll get to them later on. And the idea is, you got a bag of dice. Shake the bag of dice, grab 3 dice out of it. Here's your 3 dice. Now you get to roll these dice, and you get to put these dice down somewhere where they are legal to put down. Like, you've got a pyramid here that has to go red, green on the first level and then blue on the second level. You've got a stack here which has to go black, black, yellow, yellow. You've got a stack here which can go any dice, a yellow 1, and then 2 more yellow dices. You got this one here, which is, you got to have a number here, a color here, and then the one in the middle has to be a color or a number on either side. And then you've got, like, just has to be a 6, a 5, and a 1. It's relatively simple to understand, and thankfully, the back of the manual does tell you exactly what you need to do with each dice. So, let's just say I put the black one here, I put the green one here, and then there's nowhere else I can really put this one, so let's just put this one here, I think. So, then, you shake up the dice bag, and you do it again. So you pull out 3 more dice, you roll them, and you take them and you put them wherever you can legally put them. So I'll put the black on there, the yellow on there, and the red on there. And you just keep doing this over and over again, because that's the entirety of the gameplay. So there is a lot of reasons why I dislike this gameplay. So let's just say, for example, that I've got this green here, and let's just pretend this bomb card doesn't exist for a minute. I can do nothing with this green dice, legally, because all of the things are kind of locked out to me here. I mean, I could put it on here, but let's just pretend that doesn't exist. Let's just say that's already filled with red too. So, legally, I've got no move I can make with this dice. So, in order to end the turn successfully, I now need to roll this dice, and it's come up as a 3. Now I need to take off any 3 dice or any green dice that are on the board. So I have to take this one here, just as an example, stick it all back in the bag, and then go again. And here's the problem with this setup. There are 5 dice of each kind in the bag, right? And you can draw, say, let's just say I was going to draw another red. I don't need any more reds, but let's just say I end up drawing another red. Take off a red, and then I end up putting back another red in the same spot, because I get another red on the next round. But then I can end up pulling another red out, not having any use for it, and then ending up having to put it right back into the bag. This happens to me constantly. I genuinely played the first 2 games of Fuse, and this happened to me 3 times. This chain of putting down a color, then getting the same color out of the bag, and then having to put that color back in the bag, and just constantly having to cycle, purely because of luck. And I kind of hate it for that, because the amount of times I was just thinking to myself, I'm just wasting time here. I'm just constantly taking dice out and then immediately having to put them back in the bag because it just isn't going my way. And you only have 10 minutes to do this. So the game is a rush of constantly having to pull dice out of the bag, roll them, and then deciding what to do with them. Now, when you do manage to successfully put all the dice on a bomb, you immediately put those dice back into the bag and take one from the center row, and this does let you decide what you want to do with the dice that you've got in front of you, but that doesn't happen often enough. You often just end up having really bad rolls that there's nothing you can do about. And as a result, you just end up sometimes stuck in a situation like I just described, where you're constantly taking dice off and putting them back on just because you're drawing the wrong colors from the bag, because there are 5 dice of each color in this bag. So as a result, you can end up drawing the same color from just one thing that you need. Like, for example, this one here. You only need 1 yellow dice there. But you might not be able to just continue building up because you need to defuse other bombs or something along those lines, and you just end up constantly going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And that's one of the annoying things about the game. The 10-minute time limit also isn't that great, but I suppose that's to keep you moving. But there's another rule in the book which I basically just disregarded entirely, because the rule is, if I were to knock this over, I would have to return all of these dice to the bag. And after just... Like, these dice aren't very heavy. They are very easy to do so much and just blow in the wrong direction and end up knocking them over. So I just ended up disregarding that rule entirely, especially when you're trying to play on a surface like this carpet here, which is not very even. So you might end up just accidentally knocking something just as a result. Like, even if it's just, like, knocking this just slightly off like that. The pyramid might still be there, but as far as I can tell, that's the rules, so you can't actually... do that with them. It is supposed to introduce a bit of flavor in the form of, like, actively defusing bombs. You don't want to knock a bomb that you're actively trying to defuse, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't get really annoying in a gameplay sense. But here's the kicker. Here's the thing that really makes me despise this game. The way you score. So I'm just going to grab the book out real quick and tell you all the ways that you score. 10 points if you save the ship, which is getting rid of all the bombs in the bomb deck, and then getting rid of all those bombs in front of you, and just having, like, bombs here in front of you. They count as duds if the center row is empty, so the game's over. 1 point for every 10 seconds left on the clock. The total points on all the cards, which is their difficulty, up here in the top right. And then 2 points for each fuse card, which we'll get to in a bit. So, here's the thing about scoring in this game. It's basically luck. It's luck whether or not you get bombs that you can easily solve. It's luck whether or not you can draw the 3 dice out of the bag randomly. They'll let you solve those bombs. It's luck whether or not the bombs will be really hard to do or really easy to do. It's luck what you get out of the deck, because of the way that you set up this deck is... These are actually the bombs that didn't end up inside the deck, right? So you need to shuffle up the major bombs and then draw, like, the top 21 off. I think 21 is the amount you do for standard difficulty. But then... Once you've drawn the top 21 off and shuffled them, then you draw them out, but you might end up getting nothing but 4s. Now, the numbers are very low, so I should say they're very spread out. So the chances of you getting a bunch of 4s consistently are pretty low, and notably, if you're playing in, like, 2-player mode, you get to have, like, a 4, and then it forces you to have, like, a 2 or a 1 in front of you, just to make sure the odds are a little bit more even. But even then, it might just fill up the center row with 4s and then you're screwed. Or you might just get 1s and 2s and then just blow through them, but that doesn't give you a very high score because they're just not very good bombs. And again, that all comes down to how these cards get dealt into the deck. But then you get the order that you draw them in, because you might get unlucky with your dice drawing from the bag. Or you might get unlucky with the rolls that you get. Because remember, you need specific numbers, not just the colors. But then you might just get unlucky with having to be constantly drawing dice in and out of the bag. So it's luck piled on top of luck, piled on top of luck, piled on top of luck. And then you have to have something solid with it in order to make a score happen. And this just frustrates me to no end. Because it reminds me of speedrunning video games. Specifically GoldenEye 007. Where the actual routes, the actual proper strategy that you can implement every time has been narrowed down so thoroughly that some stages end up being at the point where getting the luck that you need in order to actually get a fast time on those stages needs you to, like, get a 1 in a 1,000 shot in the back, or a 1 in a 32 spawn of a specific objective item, or a 1 in whatever spawn in whatever, in order to actually stand a chance at getting the world record. So it just ends up being like this to me for Fuse. Because the entire point of the game, after, like, successfully saving the ship once on every difficulty, is score attacking. And when you've got luck piled on top of luck, piled on top of luck, piled on top of luck, piled on top of dice you draw from the bag luck, plus the rolls that you get here luck, plus the rolls that you have to do again if you don't use any of those dice luck, means that I feel like there's 0 point to the actual game. When the point is score attacking, when it's so biased against me having any traditional strategy, it feels entirely against the point. And as a result, I kind of hate this game. And do you want to make it harder for yourself? Add these cards to the deck. Just get rid of a green dice. Doesn't matter if that green dice is the only one you've managed to draw from the bag and that you really need, you're just going to get rid of it. Or a number 2. Do you have a number 2 that you have? Yeah, get rid of that. Screw you. Do you have a... Do you want an advanced bomb card instead, which requires an absolute ton of effort to do? But there are like specific rules about that where you can choose to pull them down from the top if you think you can get them done, but still, they are just bloody ridiculous. And even then, you have to remember, you still got to rely on dice rolls. And like this one here, like pulling those particular combinations out of the bag is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, Fuse. I hate it. I genuinely hate it. I feel like there is 0 point to playing it whatsoever because the main point of the game, score attacking, goes entirely against the main gameplay mechanic of the game, which is just flat out luck. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.